What's going on, guys? This is Seth42 here, and today I'm back with yet another college football prediction video. And this week, I'll be talking about the Red River Shootout, or the Red River Showdown, or again, the Red River Rivalry. As you guys know, with Texas versus Oklahoma, this game is one of my favorite games because they always show out. They always have like a high-scoring, crazy game. It's always been fun to watch. Sometimes there were rare games that like Texas blew out Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma somehow beating Texas by like 20 points, but it's a high-scoring game type of game. But this year could be totally different. It could be one-sided. It could be interesting. It could be a close game or a low-scoring game. We don't know, because this year I don't really know how Oklahoma is going to do, because they have some questionable starters on quarterback with benching Arnold, and then of course Hawkins for Oklahoma, and then of course Quinn Ewers is coming back for Texas because Arch Manning has done a fantastic job with Texas, while Quinn Ewers has been out with a hand injury. But so let's go ahead and go through the slideshow like I always do with every single video. I hope you guys do like these types of videos, because last year I would just base it off of the ESPN screen. So here we go with the slideshow, and of course the location for every single year is the Cotton Bowl in Texas. It's with the, I think they also have like the fair as well. So it's gonna be a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time game. It's gonna be an epic game, I think, in my opinion. It's always gonna be a crazy game because it's a rivalry game, and anything can happen when these two teams just hate each other. And of course, both teams are also in the SEC. So this is gonna be very interesting to see how both teams pan out. And of course, let's go to the next slide. Last meeting, we had Oklahoma winning, I believe, on a last-second drive with Dylan Gabriel, who's no longer with the team because he transferred out. I forget where he transferred out to, but I just lost count with so many quarterbacks transferring in and out. But he had a last-second throw, and of course, they won 34-30 on an epic ending, crazy last chance touchdown for Oklahoma, and of course they won 34-30. And still, Texas went on to go to the semifinals, and they lost to Washington. But it was a great game. Hopefully this year will be a great game as well. All right, so week number 5, I believe both teams had a bye this week, or Oklahoma beat Auburn they came back down like 14 points. It was crazy. I thought it was 10 points, and I thought Auburn was going to win this game, and then next thing you know, Oklahoma decides to come back and win 27-21. And of course, Arch Manning and Texas just dominate Mississippi State. Mississippi State is just not having a great year this year, though it was a good experience for Arch Manning for the future to get ready after Quinn Ewers leaves for Texas. All right, so the matchup predictor has Texas with an 85.8% over Oklahoma's 14.2% of the ESPN analytics of the matchup predictor for this year. They didn't have the ESPN bet odds, so they'll probably update it in the meantime. But yeah, that is your matchup predictor for this upcoming weekend's game. All right, so obviously I believe that Quinn Ewers will be the starter for this upcoming game, but Arch Manning had a fantastic day versus Mississippi State. Went 26 for 31, 325 passing yards, averaged about 10.5 yards per throw, had 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I didn't really think that Arch Manning was going to be all that good, because he played in a high school level that was kind of like but Arch Manning, in the last name, they run through football. It's just like in their DNA. So I think Arch Manning has changed my viewpoint for the future. All right, so we got Quintrevion Wisner had 13 carries, 88 rushing yards, 6.8 yards average per run, and 0 touchdowns. And of course, the only people that had touchdowns was Bone, Blue, and Manning. The last names, I think I messed up that Bone's name. But they all had 1 touchdown each. And of course, we had wide receiver DeAndre Moore Jr. He had 4 receptions, 104 receiving yards, averaged about 26.0 per catch, and had 2 touchdowns. So that was pretty good from him. Or was it Bond? I think it was Bond or Bone. I think it was Isaiah Bond or something like that, but I could be totally wrong. It must have been a typo there. So forgive me for that. All right, so we have top 3 players of the week for Oklahoma. We had Michael Hawkins Jr. Brent Venables benched Jackson Arnold because he struggled against Tennessee, and he just didn't really do so well. And they had a lot of hype on him because they thought he was better than Dillon Gabriel. So Michael Hawkins had 10 for 15 completions to attempts with 161 passing yards, 10.7 yards average, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And then we have running back Javonte Barnes with 18 carries, 61 rushing yards, averaged about 3.4 yards per run, and we have 1 touchdown for Javonte Barnes. And of course, the other rushing touchdown was with QB Michael Hawkins as well. And of course, we have wide receiver J.J. Hester with 3 receptions, 86 receiving yards, 28.7 yards per catch, and had 0 touchdowns. Pretty much Tennessee did really well against Oklahoma, though they lost Arkansas yesterday. So it was a lot of crazy games yesterday. Vanderbilt shocking the world and beating Alabama, and then Tennessee later on losing to Arkansas. Cal should have beaten Miami, but it was just a wild day yesterday. So we had top 3 players of the week on defense. We have David Jenda or Gabinda. I can't pronounce it. I think it's something with the silent B. So Jenda, I think that's his last name. If I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, I always do. I know I should be better at that, but it's just night and day with me pronouncing names. All right, he had 8 total tackles, 6 solo, and he had 1 tackle for loss, so solid day for him. And then we have defensive back Jalen Gilbo with 8 total tackles, 5 solo, or Jalen Gilbo. And, of course, linebacker Colin Simmons with 8 total tackles and 5 solo. So the defense definitely did work against Mississippi State, which is, I think, their first SEC win of the year, since they're in the SEC. All right, so we have Oklahoma top 3 players of the week on defense. We have defensive back Billy Bowman Jr. with 8 total tackles, 7 solo. Then we have defensive back Robert Spears Jennings with 6 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. And then we have lastly linebacker Kobe McKenzie with 6 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass deflection. So he did a lot for the Oklahoma Sooners versus Tennessee, versus Auburn. It was Auburn. So he did a lot against Auburn. All right, so these are the full team stats from. I don't know why that popped up right there, but anyways, so these are the full team stats. As you guys can see, you can probably pause the video and zoom in on it. But Texas only allowed 294 total yards, really solid, and they only allowed 144 passing yards, still pretty good as well. And of course, it had only allowed 6.3 yards per throw. And of course, the rushing, a little questionable, but still pretty decent in my opinion, only allowing 150 rushing yards. That's like a solid day for defense, and only allowed 3.0 per run, which is pretty good. And then, of course, they forced the turnovers and fumble. So a solid day for Texas on defense. Oklahoma, on the other hand, they allowed 482 total yards on offense. Their passing game or passing coverage is questionable, so they allowed 338 passing yards, and each passing yard was about 10 yards per throw. So they needed some work on that, and of course, they did win the game, but they still need work on the pass coverage. And of course, they only allowed 144 rushing yards, which is solid for Oklahoma. They did a better job than Texas, so that was a solid day for them. And of course, they forced 1 turnover, which was an interception thrown by Auburn. So they had a solid defense. They were down by 10 points. They came back late in the second half and won the game. All right. So lastly, who is going to win this game? It's going to be a toss-up in my opinion. I don't really know how Oklahoma will do against Texas, but they'll just probably go 110%, and they'll still have a close game with Texas. But I think that Texas is the better team, so I'm going to go with -7 points over for Texas, because Texas has a solid offense, they have a solid defense, and of course they have 2 solid quarterbacks. And of course, maybe they'll start out slow when Quinn Ewers comes back, but I think that Texas will dominate Oklahoma in the ground or defensively, but it's still going to be a close game, and it may be in the 30s like last year. So like I said before, it may be a toss-up, but I think that Texas at the end will win this game. That's just my opinion. I know some people probably won't like it, but that's how I feel about this game, this upcoming game at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And so yeah, let me know what you guys think. The Set Forward here. Y'all have a great rest of the day and good weekend as well. And see y'all next time. Peace.